to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 57. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
But that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today we're talking to Trent. Trent works in IT in the Seattle area and also has a myriad of other hobbies. Welcome, Trent.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. I feel a little bit overwhelmed by speaking to a prince right now, but other than that, I'm doing great.
You are doing fantastic, my lady.
I do think, Trent, you're going to need to
goodness.
explain that a little bit. How is it that you're a prince?
Yes, okay. So I work with a group of princesses who do a variety of events around the Seattle area, cruises and birthday parties and paint and sips and parades and all these different events to bring magic to children throughout the Northwest and just kind of make the world a better place, if possible.
Quite the mission statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that for about almost a year now. Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah.
That's
And-
so fun.
And I love it. I just get to play a variety of characters and dance with kids and show them how to be royal and princely, or how to have magic. Oh, and Ryan, you're gonna love this. For May the 4th, we did a Star Wars themed cruise where they had all the princesses.
Oh.
And some of us dressed as different characters, such as Kylo Ren. And some of the kids, I would teach them how to use the Force, and then they would try to use it on me as Kylo Ren, and then they would blast
So
me
you were
backwards
Kylo
through
Ren.
the air. Yes.
Oh,
And the
that's
Jedis
so
would teach them
cool.
how to use the Force, and then I would come out. And it was
Cool.
kind of actually difficult though, because the costume is so scary that it would scare the kids.
Sure.
And which is not something I like doing at all, but yes, a villain's important. That's what heroes are there for. So
I met Kylo Ren at California Adventure down in Disneyland, and as a full-grown adult, I definitely did get scared. And
Did you?
My friend and I were trying to take pictures with him, and he just kind of like stared us down and was silent, and we just kind of like cowered. And then on our way out, I convinced her to say to him, "Your dad says hi."
Ooh.
And then he just started like walking towards us, and we were like, "Ah!" It was kind of
we are not the ones you're looking for.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay, just since Star Wars came up, I just have to ask. So, Trent,
Yes.
are you excited about the new movie?
There's a new movie? No, I'm kidding. Yes, I'm
shut up.
totally excited. I'm totally excited to go to the new movie. I believe some mutual friends of ours have a theater they're renting out, and so I'm planning to go there.
Yeah, the mutual friend is me.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
So
very
fun.
excited. I'm very 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 excited.
Ryan, how do you really
But
feel
I will
about
be
it?
patient. I don't really care one way or the other. It,
Yeah, could go either way.
It could go either way. It's not a big deal. Let's see. When this episode comes out, will be slightly over 2 weeks away, I think.
Yeah,
When
you're
it
right.
comes
It will.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is today. If you're listening to this on the release day, is going to be December 2nd.
Happy December 2nd.
And happy December 2nd, everyone. And it comes out on the 19th. So that's, 17 days. So a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So your paper chain is getting smaller then. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's it. Sure.
Ryan, have I told you the other
So-
connection?
Oh no, what's the other connection?
A friend of mine, he makes lightsabers. So, yeah.
Wait,
And
what?
he's gonna have me help him with some lightsabers.
Like when you say makes
Whoa.
lightsabers.
Yeah, like from scratch. He works at Microsoft, and he is able to use some of the materials in the 3D printer there and stuff, and just make lightsabers. So he's made a
Holy
few.
blades?
moly.
What's that?
With blades or just the hilts?
He makes the hilts, and then he puts like car lights in them, and then attaches on the lightsaber end of it, and they're super bright, and they're way better than anything he's been able to find online so far. But obviously, they're
You are gonna have to hook me up.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's go make lightsabers.
It's your fee for
Oh.
being on this podcast, actually. So
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yep.
Fee, one lightsaber.
So I'm not as nerdy about Star Wars as Ryan is, but I do like Star Wars a lot. And I think one thing that makes me feel very nerdy is that whenever I feel like I think about something needing to be cut, whether it's like the branches on a tree being pruned or just like, I don't know, I was looking at a stone wall and figuring out what it would look like to be more even. I always just picture it being done with a lightsaber. Like that's just like my
Oh.
go-to. Like, how would I do that? It's like, well, I would take
That's
a
great.
lightsaber and then I would just, and so.
Just shave a little off the top. Give it a little haircut.
Yep. Yeah.
Imagine getting a haircut with a lightsaber. That would
Ooh, scary. Considering they can decapitate people, maybe not, but.
So we've got a set of 3 questions that we typically like to ask all of our guests, and the first one is, why do you travel?
Wow, that's a big question.
Yes, it is.
I travel. I would say what really inspires me to go around the world or to go see different places is experiences. I really like things that are unique and fun, and finding places that you go that you can't do anywhere else. That really are impactful or insightful or make you feel like there's something special about that place. And that really just speaks to you in some way or allows you even to just kind of relax or let loose or be spontaneous or just go just spend some time with friends. Another thing that I travel for would be family, because mine is spread out all over the place, from Hawaii to North Carolina and everywhere in between. So I don't know if you guys have that as well with spread out families or not, but it makes it worthwhile to travel. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think my immediate family is pretty close by, but my extended family, I don't have any. I guess technically I have a second or third cousin or something like that that's in Bellingham. But as far as most extended family, is out of state. So
I used to live in
similar
Bellingham.
sort of
I
a
probably
thing.
know your cousin.
It's possible. It's possible.
It is true that visiting people is such a fun reason to travel because then you get to see a new place and see someone that you love. And so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the reason I went to Texas this past year was to visit someone down there, and I never ever thought I would go to Texas until I had someone to go visit. So that was one example.
Sure.
And where in Texas was that?
That was Austin, Texas. I was visiting a friend of mine.
How was
named
Austin? I
George.
haven't gone there.
It is wonderful. It's if you like it, it's got a Seattle vibe to it, but it's much warmer, for one. And I found the best tacos I think I've ever had in Austin, Texas, at a place called Torchy's. So
Nice. Sweet.
yeah,
That is good to
I
know.
highly
Jeez,
recommend
very
Austin.
cool.
It's really wonderful. So that's another great place to go.
There you go. Next question for you is, what type of traveler are you?
I am a Virgo. I mean, you said type, sorry. I would say I'm the type of traveler who likes to plan ahead and likes to think of all the options and like have a list. I don't know. I really love lists, and that's probably why I'm in IT. I'm really organized like that. But and so I like having a list and a plan of like everything to do, and then I like to go on the trip, and then I like to almost throw it out the window and just kind of be spontaneous and still go and do those things if I feel like it in the moment or not. Um, but I like just having it planned out ahead of time. So that's the kind of planner I'm spontaneous and fun and lots of energy and let's go do everything we can while we're here.
So you make
So-
the list so that you don't have to follow it?
Kind of, yes. I make the list so I know what's available because I've been to places before, and it's so frustrating. You go somewhere and you're like, oh, I totally missed out on this wonderful thing that I had no idea was there. And so, well, then you get to go back, which is fun too. But yeah, I just like kind of knowing what's available, and if I'm able to do it, awesome. If not, I'm gonna go do something else that's way more fun. I don't know.
I totally feel that. Yeah, it's nice to know your options, and it's nice to know like what you need to do to make sure you get to those places, and then
Right.
you can always, knowing that information, choose to dismiss it and do something else. But it's
Yeah.
nice to know your
Yeah.
options for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally makes sense. Yeah.
Or on a trip when you go and do something, and then when you after you've done it, such as like hike a mountain or something like that, and you come back down and you've had all these other plans, and then you say maybe we should take a break, and and maybe relax for a bit, and we'll do that tomorrow instead. And so you can shift things around, but
Yeah.
at least you know, what's there.
Absolutely.
I do have to ask.
Sure.
You like lists,
Yeah.
and we have mentioned this on the podcast several times before.
Oh yeah.
Are you familiar with Google Keep?
Yes, I use Google Keep a lot.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Because as a list person, it can be pretty fantabulous.
Yes, it's
They
Google
pay
Keep
us so
is a
much
lifesaver.
money every time we sell someone on it, so it's really good. So
And then also as a fellow list person, and as someone who is in IT, do you have other list things that you like that we don't know about yet?
Yes. So I use Google Keep mainly for like general notes or things, but it's also not quite as robust as I would like
Right.
for my list. So I have created my own Excel travel spreadsheet, which I've shown to people before, and they think that I'm insane. But it goes it shows everything on the trip, every city, all the dates, and it's got dashboards, and it's got all the prices of everything. It's linked to all the websites for all the places where you need to book things for, or phone numbers and discount codes and things. So I put this thing together because I looked it through a ton of software, and I just wanted to be able to plan out my trip and my experience, and didn't quite find exactly what I needed. So I'd be happy to share that with you guys. I have 3 or 4 friends who use them on their trips now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that would be
awesome.
awesome.
Do you access those things when you're on the trip, or do you print them, or like
Yeah.
how do you go about that when you're actually on the trip?
I use Google Sheets just so I can access it from any device. I can use it on my phone or a computer or a tablet of some kind, and it just makes it really accessible. You do need internet, but you can also download an offline version as a backup or something like that. So that way I can update it throughout the trip, and it makes it super handy. Because then I can also record how much I thought things were going to cost beforehand, and then how much they actually did cost, and then I can use that for future trip planning.
Nice.
See,
That's
I
awesome.
like that. I like that a lot. How many columns do you typically have in your spreadsheet?
This one has about, I think, 30 or something like that. But they're all
Okay.
I've gone through like a lot and then limiting it down to only the ones that I need. So
So wait, so 30 is the limited version?
yeah. But I don't. Yeah.
We like you.
What do you think your maximum was?
It probably got up to like 60 or something like that, with just things that aren't really important to know, but that I was like, this would be fun, and then I was like, no, that doesn't matter.
Yep. It can be easy to just add more information to things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Trent, what is your number one travel tip?
My number one travel tip kind of ties in to what I said before, but actually, I'm gonna flip it around. My number one travel tip would be, I would say, asking locals for advice. On every trip I've been on, there's been some sapphire, there's been some diamond in the rough that only the people who live there really know about, or even what to avoid and things that people think are cool, but maybe there's something else you should go see, or something, or some delectable cuisine to try. And I found that on my trip, on all my trips, that there's something fun and interesting that the locals are the ones who know about, and then often they can take you there themselves, and then you get to meet somebody new, you get to branch out and just have this incredible experience, and share that with another human being.
Awesome.
How do you find the right locals to ask?
Trial and error. You kind of you're just friendly with everyone you meet, and there's certain people you'll just notice that you connect with, you hit it off, and sometimes there's a language barrier. Sometimes you can, even if there is, you can find a way to work through it, and you just kind of have fun with it, and then certain people that you find that connection with, you just dive head in. Head first. You dive in head first.
Whatever the expression is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at the same time, you just got to be flexible and know that things can go wrong, and so just be positive and be happy, and especially if you're with these people, then it'll make it all the easier for you on your trip.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Full transparency, that's one of the things that I struggle with as a staunch introvert. Talking to strangers is awkward for me in the first place, and then you throw me into another country where there's another language and other cultural norms, and it's that much harder. But
I completely understand.
But I think you're right, though, that when you can do that and when you can have those connections, you have a much richer experience.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you can find a way to do that, then it's magical.
Says the Disney prince.
I know. Like, are you doing this while you're dressed as a prince as well?
Shh, don't give away my secrets.
All right. So, what is the trip you're going to be telling us about today?
Okay, so today I thought I would share a little bit about a trip I took back in 2017 to the most beautiful place in the world I've ever been, New Zealand. Either of you ever been there?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, we're all
both
planning a trip.
jealous,
Let's go. Come on.
All right. Okay.
Works for me. Are you paying?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Perfect.
It's that prince money.
It's money. Exactly.
New Zealand. What do you know about New Zealand already? Just so I don't know, I'm not covering anything.
Okay, so I know that it's green.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I know that there's a lot of gorgeous nature there.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Hobbiton is there.
Yes.
And I know that it is one or two islands. One island?
Yep.
One island.
There's two different islands.
Two
main
islands.
islands.
Yeah.
Okay.
The north and the
got it.
south. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know, I will add to that. I know, yes, that there's two islands, and that there are some decent differences between the two islands, although I don't remember which. I also know that it's relatively geologically active, and there's some really cool geology sites, and they have glowworm caves.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned the glowworm caves.
Please tell me
so
you went.
Exciting.
Yeah, and they're just as incredible as you might imagine. Even more so, I would say.
Okay, so we just need to start there because you just mentioned it, so we can't say that and then go away and come back. So, which island are they on? What's the experience like?
Yes.
for people who don't know anything about this?
So the glowworm
Like me.
caves, yes. The glowworm caves are on the northern island.
Okay.
They're located in a region. New Zealand's got a bunch of different regions all over it, and this one's called Waitomo. Um, and it's these, I don't know, glowworms are a insect bug type thing that live in these caves, and I'm definitely not going to be as sciencey as you would hope, Ryan, but
It's okay.
I know
It's all
you'll
right.
cover me. So, but they exude light as a form of attraction to get other bugs and prey and things. We learned about all of this as we were exploring these caves, by the way, which was an experience in of itself. But just learning about how these glowworms do what they do, and we also got to learn about the culture and that the tribes who inhabited the islands before a lot of the big cities popped up. That they actually used to think that these glowworms, or they didn't know what they were exactly, but they just saw these amazing glowing lights in these caves, and they thought that they were the spirits of their ancestors. And so these were like very highly respected areas where they would be very meaningful to a lot of different people, and they still are to this day. But they've chosen to open them up in order to educate and to help others understand, and probably for a little bit of tourism as well. But
Sure.
but really, it is an incredible experience just to be able to go and see these lights that are under the earth, and you feel like you're in your own galaxy.
So, because the glowworms are up
wow.
on the ceiling of the cave, right?
Ceilings, the walls, all of it, yeah.
Oh, even okay on the walls. So, how high up above you are the lights?
Depends on how low the ceiling is.
All right, that's a reasonable answer.
Sometimes,
But I mean, they're
yeah.
not so low that you could touch them, are they?
Sometimes they are, and they say try not to touch them just because you don't want to
Sure.
disturb or
Yeah.
cause anything to happen. But that's kind of in general when you go caving, you just try not to touch any of the ceiling
Sure.
or any of
Yeah,
that
that
stuff
seems
because it
like
might
that's one
fall
of the
on you.
standard policies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just fantastic.
So are you walking, hiking? Are there paths? Is it just kind of free for all? Is there just a guide who goes through with you? What is that sort of experience like?
So there's a variety of ways you can choose to do it, and because of who I am, and I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, I was like, I'm gonna go big, and then I'll go home in a little while later. But what we chose to do was we did what's called legendary blackwater rafting. And that's a
gosh.
specific company that is called Legendary Blackwater Rafting. And you go, what they have you do, there's a variety of different experiences and ways you can go about it. And we started off, they have you abseil, which is the same thing as rappelling, down from the surface. And you're wearing a wetsuit
What?
and a helmet, safety first the whole time. And they train you ahead of time. And they do have two guides that go with your group of people. And I think we had about 10 or so. And they're people from all over the world. We had some from China and we had some from Europe, and so we all kind of get to know each other a little bit, and they teach you how to rappel above ground first, just so you don't just to avoid an incident.
Sure.
And then they have you drop down into the mouth of this cavern, and you have to for me, I was one of the bigger people, and so you have to wiggle your way down until you're going through the mouth of this cave, and then
Because it's not very big. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it wasn't very big, but then it opens up, and you are at the top on a rope hanging above this several hundred feet above this cavern.
Wow.
Oh, so not rappelling anymore, just like roping.
Yeah, you're on a rope and you're going down, and there's a big, and it just goes off into blackness.
Oh
And you
gosh.
can there is
Holy
the first
moly.
guide does go first, so you see a light down like way at the bottom from his headlamp.
Oh, well, then that's fine and normal.
Yeah,
And
it's
why would
fine.
anyone be scared at
No,
all?
not at all. Uh, and you just have to keep going, and the walls in front of you are kind of wet, so you're trying to keep your footing, and you just keep going down, and you're trying to like look around you, and your light's shining on the walls in these caverns that have been around for eons. Maybe not accurately, but but that's what it feels like. And
Yeah.
and then you get to the bottom and you wait for each person to come down one by one. And in the meantime, you turn your lanterns off or your headlamps off, and you just get to sit there and listen and enjoy a little bit of silence and peace and quiet. And the glowworms are right there, all around you. And
Wow.
you just get to have kind of this peaceful moment in your own head, um, which is very deep and impactful, I found. So
So when you're
Wow.
going through the entrance to the
yeah,
cave, it's basically the through the ground, which means through the ceiling of the cave. Are there glowworms around you as you're going down?
they're actually yeah. That's a good question. They weren't near like the right near the entrance, and I don't know if it's the sunlight or something that
Sure. Yeah.
but they were further back. They liked more
Okay.
of the darkness. What I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would say that probably that's because they want their light to shine and attract bugs to them instead of the
Yeah.
sunlight.
That would
So
make sense.
um,
Yeah.
Okay.
so they're creatures of the night.
Wow.
And that's only part one. So that part one of the trip, you get to do that and enjoy that experience. And then once everybody gets down, then they take you off on this path around these massive boulders and stuff that are in this cavern, and you make your way down this path until you get to a drop off, and you just see this line, this wire that's going above your head, and it just kind of keeps going and going and going, and and it's a zip line.
Oh,
And
oh my goodness.
And at this point, are you far enough away from the entrance that it's pretty much just pitch black?
except for your headlamps, yes, it's pitch
Yeah.
black.
Wow.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
So what they do is they said, "All right, who wants to go first? Who's up?" And I was a little nervous, so somebody else raised their hand first. Unfortunately, I kind of wish it was me, um, uh, but this other very nice lady, she jumped up to bat, and they got her up there and ready to go, and then they're like, "All right, everybody, turn off your headlamps." I was more scared
goodness.
for her than I think I've ever been. uh, but she was a champion, and just yeah, we turn our lamps off, and you just and they say, "All right, one, two, three," and they send her off, and her screaming will haunt my soul for ever. Yeah,
Maybe that's why people thought it was ghosts in there. If you hear that screaming and see the glowing, must be haunted.
Do you have any
Oh my
idea how
goodness.
long it was?
I would say probably like 200 feet, maybe. I don't really know exactly.
Right, because it was black
Yeah.
when you did it.
I couldn't tell, but it was a ways. All I know is that a few seconds later, all we heard was this massive just clap sound, and
Oh.
and then we all kind of just froze and stopped, and
Yeah.
it sounded like she hit a wall,
Yeah.
and then the guide turns to us and he just goes, "Ah!" and he starts laughing, and then we hear laughter at the other end from the other guide who'd gone around this other way to get all the way down there before, while we were getting prepped
Okay.
and ready and getting her on the line and everything. There was some other way to get there that he had gone first, and he had a big backpack that he had just slapped, and so it was good to
Oh
know.
my
So
goodness.
that's another
That's a
thing
good
about
prank.
these guides is they are just hilarious, and they were just doing jokes the whole time and just making you feel alive and fun, but at the same time, I've never felt more safe. They talked to us about cave rescues that they had been on, and different adventures that they had done underground, and how many, yeah, I don't know, they just had been all over and were very well traveled and just very encouraging Yeah, I would say. So that made
Nice.
the trip so much, even based on what it was by itself, just having really good guides makes the trip all the much better. So
Awesome.
So that was part two.
part two. So then, yeah, all of us got to go on the zip line through pitch blackness. And
Gosh.
I mean, I was still pretty scared going on my
Well,
own
sure.
because the walls are still pretty close.
Oh, okay.
At least at the beginning, and then they kind of widen out as you go along the zip line. But yeah, you've got to be careful at the beginning just to make sure you don't hit something on the way out. Um, yeah, and then as you keep going,
Wow.
you stop again, and they like feed everybody, and they give you food that they have taken. They sit you down on the edge of this precipice, and below you is an underground river.
Oh.
That is just, it looks murky and and just like you don't know what's in there, like you're in a trash compactor on a spaceship.
Or the Death Star?
That's what I'm talking about. And then they give you all inner tubes and say jump in, and
Oh, cool.
yep. And then you do kind of like you like swim, half walk through water, and hike your way. In some places it's deeper than your head, so you have to like hold on to ropes on the wall and like pull yourself along.
Oh,
And
interesting.
you go up
Wow.
quite a ways up the river, and then you all get into like a snake formation in your inner tubes, and then they take you down the way, and that's the point where they're describing, all the history and telling you about the glowworms and saying that I don't know, I don't want to get too graphic here, but they were talking about what the glowworms do when they capture another insect, and that they are cannibalistic too. So they eat their own kind, but what they do is they capture something in these little tendrils that hang down, and then they reel them back in like a fishing line, and then they burrow into their heads through their skulls, and they suck their brains out. And so when they told us
Oh my
this,
goodness.
right? Isn't that insane?
I
Wow.
love that.
And when they told us this, the guides go, and that's why we're all wearing helmets right now.
Wow. Well, okay, I think we need to move through the rest of the
Sure,
country
sorry.
a little quicker.
Yep.
No, that was amazing. Do not
That was great.
apologize. That was
Yeah.
great. I
No, that
think
was
it
really
would be
good.
really cool to hear just like an overview of the trip. So, like,
Sure.
where all did you go?
Okay.
And then maybe, tell us a couple stories about some of the other highlights. Because clearly this was one of them. And
Oh, yeah.
That
we
was
loved it.
Blackwater rafting is by far the most fun and the most special experience that you can't do anywhere else in the world that I did on the trip. So please, if you go to New Zealand, go blackwater rafting. Please. You will not regret it.
Nice.
All right, so why don't you tell us how long you were there and sort of what the overall path was for your
Sure.
trip?
Okay, so I went for about 2.5 weeks and wanted to do everything. Wanted to do both the North and South Island. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so and all of New Zealand has everything in it. So, but based on time constraints and just wanting to be able to relax a little bit on the trip and not drive the entire time, chose to focus on the northern part of the island. And what I did was we flew in from Vancouver, Canada, because it was half the price versus flying out of Seattle.
Really, half the price?
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
it was half the price.
Wow. So a direct flight from
No.
Vancouver?
No, not a direct flight. It was a 27-hour flight.
One 27-hour flight?
With a
Or the whole
layover.
travel
It was a
time?
layover in
Oh,
Hong
okay.
Kong. 27,
Oh, okay.
27 hours with a 7-hour layover. It flew
Okay.
over Alaska, over Russia, down through China, stopped in Hong Kong for a little while, which has really good food in their airport. We didn't think 7 hours was enough time to leave and come back, so we just enjoyed
Cool.
the airport itself. But then and then flew over Australia and then all the way back down. Well, you fly over a lot more on the way, but Australia and then all the way down to New Zealand. And you
Sweet.
come into Auckland, which is their main city, which reminded me a lot of Seattle. Yeah.
Okay.
What reminded you of Seattle about Auckland?
It's got that big city kind of feel, and they also have a spire in the same way that we have the Space Needle.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. They call it, the restaurant's called Orbit 360, but they call it Sky Tower.
Oh, so very similar to
Yep.
the Space
Wow.
Needle in that regard.
Wow.
Yep. It looks a little bit different,
That's
but
funny.
it's almost the same thing.
So what are all the places in New Zealand that you went to? Auckland was first, and then...
Yes. So we flew into Auckland, and then from there we picked up a rental car and we drove all the way over to Rotorua, which is where all that volcanic activity and hot springs and things of that nature are, and that was really what we wanted. We
Cool.
wanted something relaxing, wanted something just kind of fun and bubbly and hot in the middle of an island. And so that's where, and kind of use that as the home base, and then then I went out from there to different locations and then came back to Rotorua a bunch, and then
Oh, cool.
so I would say the majority of the time was spent in Rotorua, and then kind of venturing out from there to go to Hobbiton to visit. Oh my gosh, there's so much I could tell you about Hobbiton. I befriended one of the guides, and we were nerding out the whole time about all different types of Lord of the Rings lore, and it's a very, very interesting place. So, what would you like to know about Hobbiton?
They burnt it down, so I'm confused what you get to see. What did they
What do you mean
actually
they burnt
burn?
it down?
In the movie. Did
Oh,
they burn it?
That's a movie, Cheryl.
Okay, but I thought I heard that in filming they had to do that scene last because they actually burnt it. Did they not?
when I went there, I don't know if they. I don't think they did. But as far as the set goes, they did have. When they made the first movies, they actually they had a deal with the people who owned the land there, and they had to take down everything at the end of the movie when they made the first Lord of the Rings movies, and then they came back and they rebuilt everything with like real wood and stone and material, and like real materials versus like set material.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And that's what's there today is all this real
The
the
real
real thing.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
But there is only
That's
one
cool.
that has that is fully dug out, and that is, of course, Bag End.
Okay.
Sure.
So most of them are just like a front,
Right.
pretty much.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can walk into some of them. They
Interesting.
have like a room for the actors to like come in and out of. But
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wait. The
So-
actors? They've got
not
actors there the whole time?
no. They just have guides and people that, but they don't have the actors actually there and hobbits walking around. But they do have people.
Okay.
They do people who work there and they dress up and things like that. But they don't
Okay.
actually have hobbits. That would be cool though.
Nice. So how big is it? Like, I know sometimes when you visit something that's in a movie, it's either bigger or sometimes smaller. It kind of depends compared to how it was on screen.
Sure. It's really big. I mean, it's rolling hills on this farmland, and there's a big lake that's a part of it, and this massive tree.
Wow.
And one of the coolest things I learned is that it was supposed to be filmed in several different locations all over New Zealand originally, but when they came to this spot, in the book, Tolkien had written about that Hobbiton was next to a body of water and had this incredible tree, and that there was a mountain range in the distance. And this spot specifically on this sheep farm in the middle of the northern island of New Zealand was the only place that had all of three of those things, and that's why they chose
Wow.
to do it there.
That's so cool.
That's attention to detail right there.
Isn't it though?
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
I thought that was really cool.
Was
Yeah.
admission difficult to get? Like, is it something that you had to like look online months in advance to try to get a ticket, or was it pretty easy to
It is
get
something.
admission
It's
there?
something you want to. It's something you do want to plan ahead of time and get a ticket. You can go there and get one, but it's more it's harder and things might be full and booked.
Okay.
But so I would recommend doing that ahead of time. Um, but it's totally worthwhile, and I really enjoyed it. And some people say that
Nice.
it's a little expensive. It was a little over $100, I think, if I remember correctly. I could look at my
Oh,
spreadsheet and find
okay.
out. But um, but it's totally worthwhile, and you get a free beer at the end of it in the Green Dragon Inn, um,
Hmm.
which is one of the locations of the movie. Anyway, it's a beautiful place to go. Um, and if you are
Nice.
a Lord of the Rings fan like I am, you will get your money's worth.
That's super
Nice.
cool.
That's awesome. So cool.
So where did you head? You said you did a lot of little day trips out of
Rotorua.
Rotorua.
Yep.
Yeah, that place. Where did you go after
Okay,
that?
so some other places that we liked to go from there, we went to a hike up to the top of a waterfall called
Nice.
Waiari Falls, and that's kind of near Hamilton, Hamilton is like another one of those areas, kind of like Waitomo. It's another
Mm.
one of those regions, um,
Okay.
and Hamilton is where Hobbiton is. So it's kind of so what
Okay.
we did is we drove out to Hobbiton. We spent the day there. On the way back, we did a hike.
So what else stands out as highlights to you?
Let's see. In and around Rotorua, some of the most incredible experiences that I had was doing ogos. So I don't know if you've heard or seen them, but it's a giant plastic bubble that you get inside of, and they put a little bit of water in as well, and you're wearing a bathing suit, and they give you a GoPro, and then they roll you down a hill and say good
Wha-
luck.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Um, yeah. It's and honestly, you got to try this. You got to try it.
That sounds so
Rolling
fun.
down a
Do you
hill.
like get seriously injured potentially if you like hit, or does the bubble just hit in such a way that you're not really hurting yourself, or how does that go?
Yeah, the bubble cushions everything. If you have somebody else in there
Nice.
with you, which you are allowed to do, you could headbutt each other. And I'm not going to say whether that happened or not, but um, but for the
Uh-huh.
most part, it's like a water slide that you are inside of and rolling around in.
Huh.
Wow,
That.
that sounds really fun. A water slide you're rolling around in. I'm so in. That sounds great.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll watch you.
Come on, Ryan, we got to do this.
Ryan, will
You
you
can race
film
each
it
other
for
too.
us?
You can get in one, and your friend can get in the one next to you, and you can race down the hill.
Ryan will film us and cheer from the side.
There you go.
Very
That's it.
successfully. So.
Yep. I don't know that I need to do.
And he might check
Yeah.
his phone a little bit too. You know, so.
Might do that a little bit. Yep. Might happen.
It's a great picture
Wow.
opportunity. So, yeah.
That's very
I'll
cool.
bet.
Nice.
I'll bet.
So you had a lot of really like interesting adventures on this trip. Would
Yeah.
you say that that is common when visiting New Zealand? There's a lot of really fun outdoors adventure opportunities.
Absolutely. In New Zealand, there are so many outdoorsy type things you can do. I would say that anything that you can and think you would be able to do anywhere in the world is something you can do in New Zealand. It's got every type of climate, from beaches to the big city to the rolling fields to mountains. Whereas I don't know, you can do anything. If I was gonna talk about New Zealand, I would say it's a mix of Hawaii and Washington, um,
Ooh,
which are two of my
I
favorite
want to
places.
be there.
Right?
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
Because it's got the climate and the weather in lots of parts of New Zealand, of the islands and the plants and the animals, and you feel like you're in the tropics, but at the same time it's huge, and it's got the farmland and just everything that you could want, and mountains to hike in, and just adventure everywhere. Um,
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
So, I have heard that the North Island and the South Island are fairly different from each other. Is that what you experienced? And then if so, how would you describe those differences between the islands?
Sure. Yeah. So I have heard that as well. I've only been to the North Island. I have another trip planned to the South Island because I want to go back and check and see everything that's there. What I've heard is that the South Island is a lot more scenic, and there are more mountains, and it's just a different like topography. There's more like fjords and uh, and and differences in that way. I guess it's and where I would say the North Island is more it's more farmland, and it's more of the bigger cities. So
And yet still scenic.
yeah, and still completely beautiful, but just in a different way.
Wow.
So I'm excited to go back and be able to check out and see what the differences truly are through my own eyes. But yeah, from what I've heard is just that there are just a lot of differences in what you can see and do. Whereas like the top of the North Island is a lot more like subtropical and beaches in the Bay of Islands, and that's kind of where we ended our trip. Was we wanted to end it on the beach. So
Well, and I may be looking at these pictures that you uploaded, Trent, and I see something about dolphins.
yes.
I feel like you need to tell me about dolphins.
Okay, so
Oh my gosh.
in the Bay of Islands, which is on the near the northernmost tip of New Zealand, we stayed in this place called Pahia, and there you can go out on a catamaran, which is a really cool type of vessel, of ship. It's a sailing ship, and it has kind of pontoons, but it was incredibly beautiful. And what they did is they showed us around and took us to different islands all over, and they give you a really extraordinary meal. And as you're going around, they're following a pod of dolphins. And what they tell you is they say, if you would like to, jump in and swim with the dolphins, you are more than welcome to. But what they told us is that we had to wait a little bit because there was a mom with its baby, and just based on the laws in New Zealand, you're not allowed to swim with them while they were there. But they said if the mom and the baby peel off from the group, from the pod, then jump in, and that did happen. It did.
So you got to swim with dolphins.
Yes, yeah. So they have you jump
Oh
off,
my
and you just
goodness,
swim.
yeah.
You swim as hard as you can, The whole
Really?
and everybody who's still on the boat is just cheering and saying like, "Go left, go right. No wait, they're straight ahead of you. Just keep going. And then you can't see anything because you're swimming so hard, and you have a snorkel, but it's so hard to breathe. And then you just keep lifting your head up and trying to figure out where they are. And all of a sudden, I lifted my head up, and there was a dolphin staring me in the face, and then it just went by me, and he put his whole body just along the side of me, and then he was gone. And I saw them like go off, and they kept moving, and they were playing and jumping in the waves and stuff. And
That's super
That's
cool.
magical.
yeah, dolphins feel really cool. They're yeah.
Yeah, they feel like an inner tube.
Yeah, they're
pretty
kind of
much.
rubbery
They just
and
feel like rubber.
but
Uh-huh.
also soft. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like horrifying how strong they are.
Yeah.
It's a little scary. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, you have a lot of muscles, and so.
Have you swam with dolphins, Cheryl?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Where did you do that?
In Cabo.
Oh, nice.
With my family. We got to go. It was something where they were in like a tank, almost. It looked like SeaWorld or something like that. And so they taught us we each got a turn with these dolphins, and they taught us 3 different like arm commands, and then they would do different things. So you did one, and they'd kiss you on the cheek.
Mwah.
And they did one where you do some sort of hug thing, and then you could do one where 2 of them would come up alongside you, and you could hold on their fins, and then they would like pull you, and you got
Yeah.
to like kind of like ski almost, but not ski
wow.
behind them. But the one with the kissing me on the cheek, it just kept swimming forward. So it like kissed my cheek and then it just kept going. And I just got pushed underneath water and it swam over me. And it was like, I have no control of this situation at all. And it was one of those things where I felt fine and safe because it was like, I'm in this situation with all these people watching me and like, I'm not going to like stay underwater, you know? And so like, it was fine, but it was something where I was like, "Oh, you're
strong.
You're very strong. Got it. Yeah, it was so cool though. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're
really
so strong and they're so smart too. They have, I don't know. They can just do, being able to follow commands and just kind of be able to. They can fight off sharks. So.
It's so cool.
And you got to swim with them.
Nice.
In
the wild.
Yeah.
I know. That's the crazy thing. Oh my goodness. That's so cool.
Oh. Was it just you? Were you the only one who jumped out of the boat?
No, there was a group of people that all jumped out.
Okay.
Yep. But we all swam in different directions, so I don't know how many of us actually got to see them.
Oh, interesting.
Some of them are still out there. It's fine.
They're still there.
Oh, man. Well, Trent, thank you so much for sharing about this amazing trip with us. That was awesome. We have a couple follow-up questions for you. So the first one is based on the title of our show, Take Me With You. If you could take us with you to just one thing on this trip, what would it be and why?
To one thing on this trip, I've talked about it already. I would take you legendary blackwater rafting every time.
All right. We're in. Ryan, are you in?
Probably.
Just think about all the science you can do down there.
Oh, trust me. Like, there's plenty of stuff. I want to go into the glowworm caves. I don't know that I love the whole.
You don't want to zip line?
I don't think I would mind the zip line as much. It's the rappelling into nothing below me.
You don't have to do all of that. They have a
freak me
variety
out.
of different trips and ways you can get down in there and do things. So.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I could be peer pressured into the action-y one that you're describing.
bet
If
you
it
could,
involved
Cheryl.
like and then I think I would be like pretty scared and then also be like, that was amazing. And so
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
the inner tubing sounds like my favorite part of all.
It's
of
super
that. That sounds
relaxing,
really
yeah.
cool. Nice. I'm into that. Like a lazy river
Yeah.
underground.
I could do that. I could go
That's
with that.
fantastic. Oh man. And what's your next trip?
My next trip is currently planned for next summer, and I'm going to be going to China.
Ooh.
Nice.
If everything goes right, I've started training, but the hope is to be able to go with my martial arts studio, and we have about 75 studios all over the U.S., and we're all going to go together. They do this trip every about 4 or 5 years, and we go to the Shaolin Temple in China, which is where our martial arts was descended from, and as well as we visit a variety of other places around and go up into the mountains of China to the Wudang Temple, which is the birthplace of Tai Chi, and I'm hoping to test for my third-degree black belt up in the mountains of China.
Oh, wow. That'd be amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know how to choose an epic trip. This is pretty cool. And then you're going to come back on the podcast.
Yes, I would love to.
Awesome. Very cool. And do you have any travel questions for us?
Yeah. I have lots of questions, but I'll keep it down to just a few. I was curious, because you guys are so well traveled, what are some of the most surreal places that you've been that you were really just that you felt a connection with, that made you just feel like there's nothing else in the world quite like it?
That's a good question.
It's a very good question.
I mean, my immediate, where my brain goes initially is Iceland.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've been to Iceland yet, Trent.
I haven't. I really want to.
Oh, you've got to. You've got to. It is so otherworldly. and it's so different than most anything else that I've ever seen.
In what way?
And well, just the landscape is so sparse, and because it's volcanic, and it's like doubly volcanic because it's on a hot spot, but it's also at a plate boundary. So you've got divergent plates at the kind of the north end of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and you've got a hot spot, which does all of these unique geologic things. And so there's just lava fields, just that stretch everywhere. So I went with a group of students, and a number of students at different points throughout the trip mentioned that they felt like they were on another planet. It's so different than anything that at least I encounter on a regular basis. And it's really, really cool. And it's just so beautiful. Really cold.
Yeah.
But beautiful, just gorgeous. I'm going to make this super awkward and weird, and this doesn't work super well for podcasting, but I still have a picture of one of the places I went, and it's the background on my phone. I'm going to awkwardly hold it up to the camera here so you guys can see it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know how well you can see that, but because the ground was black, like because it's basalt, so like volcanic rock, and it's black, and yet it was covered with snow when we were there, and so it's this stark white and black, and this lake that we were just we're driving around, and there was just this huge lake, and it was so blue, and the sky was clear. It was, it's amazing.
Cool.
Iceland is super cool. So I would probably say somewhere in Iceland, and it's hard to narrow down exactly where. Cheryl?
Nice. I think the first thing that came to mind for me was Morocco. And I think part of that is that I felt like I traveled in time when I went there, and so it felt more surreal because I felt like I was like in a different time period. Just because like there are so many places we can visit where you can see such a similar lifestyle to what you live, you know, and you
Very
can just
true.
see like, okay, like we live in different places in the world, but ultimately, like, I don't know, we go to work and we go, I don't know, it's just maybe pretty similar lifestyle, or like there are cultural differences, but they're not like crazy different cultural differences. And like going to Morocco, like as a woman, I learned like don't make eye contact with men. Like and I was like, oh, okay. So, and like I just like was told, because I went with a group and we went to like teach at this American Academy over there as like this like summer service type of trip, and so as we went out into like a marketplace, like the marketplace itself just looked like I was in a different time and a totally different world, where like even at a booth where you could buy meat, they had all the animal heads displayed above. And it wasn't to be gross, it was to check their teeth, because if their teeth looked good, then you knew that they were healthy, which meant that the meat was good. And so and there's donkeys walking around like all, with diapers on, which makes sense. I mean, that's just, you know, so it'd be less mess.
That's
or
such a
whatever.
great
But, I mean,
point.
just like
that there's these
just like
different places and cultures, and they do things differently, but they do it sometimes for a reason, and it's interesting to learn why.
But it was weird just like learning, like I just felt like I couldn't totally be myself either, though, because it was like, don't be friendly with men because like they might propose to you. And so, or like there were these guys called watermen that were supposed to kind of be like street entertainment, which I mean, it's like, I mean, we have street entertainers in cities, but they were, I was told like, don't even watch them because then they'll like follow you and demand that you give them money. And it was like, okay, got it. And so it was interesting just feeling, seeing something so different, and then also feeling like I am acting different in this context. But also Morocco is really interesting because it has both French and Arabic influences. And that's weird because there are women covered head to toe, and there are women who will wear bikinis at the beach. And so that's interesting to like see both of those
huge
in
contrast,
the same culture. And they speak French and Arabic, which like ends up having this really interesting blend. And so I don't know. Yeah, I think that was like the most different culture that I've witnessed and been a part of.
That's so interesting.
A little bit of time. Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah.
Another question I had. When you guys go on your trips, what are some items that you think most people don't think of, or something that you like to bring that has been a lifesaver, or that savvy travelers bring along that maybe
boy.
newbie travelers don't even think of?
I think you're giving me too much credit. Bring that other people wouldn't think about bringing.
I know yours, Ryan.
Yeah, what's mine?
You bring a USB with movies on it.
Yeah. Entertainment
Yeah,
24/7.
Yeah, well, it's mostly for the
Flights.
it's mostly for the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, for long travel where I've had it happen. I've actually had it happen to me twice. I think once this last summer, I don't remember when, where the in-flight entertainment was broken. And it
Whoa.
just didn't work. And so you're on a, 6, 8, 10-hour flight, and you planned on just watching movies the whole time, and then it doesn't work. And so it's like, oh, well, apparently I can't do that. But if you bring your own stuff, then you can.
Or bring a backup book.
Or a backup book. I often can't sustain the attention of reading that long.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm just a terrible person, I guess.
No, not
I
even.
can live with that.
You're just a movie connoisseur.
I don't know about connoisseur, but definitely movies are my thing. I definitely enjoy movies. So Cheryl, then if that's my thing, what's your thing?
My first thing that came to mind was my collapsible water bottle.
You definitely have.
I
mentioned
also
that several times.
separately from that, I have a Brita water bottle.
Yeah.
That has
Oh.
a little filter in it, so that can be nice. I like to have water. I get headaches when I am dehydrated, and I just feel like when you're traveling, it's way too easy to realize that you haven't had water all day long, and so I try to find means of having water. The other one that came to mind pretty quickly for me was laundry soap. So you can do laundry in your hotel room, which we've done an episode about. So you can check it out where we have all of our little how-tos on how we like to do hotel room laundry. Yeah,
I like that.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I think the other one that and this one I don't think is particularly uncommon, but it's still really important to me.
Some important. Yeah.
Is a portable power brick for my phone. To just plug it in
That's a good one.
Because my phone, I use my phone a lot while traveling, whether it's to access plans or things, or a travel app, whether that's Airbnb or the local train app or whatever, or Google Maps. But it's also my camera, and I take hundreds of pictures, if not 1,000 pictures, depending on where I am while I'm traveling, and that's my biggest souvenir. And so that uses up a lot of battery, and I have had it happen too many times where I've been out there and then all of a sudden I lose my battery and I can't take any more pictures, and I'm like, I'm not okay with that.
Yep.
So
or I've also run into it where you're traveling with other people, and then you go to like a hotel room, and there's only one outlet in the hotel room, and so you then one of your I would give it to one of my friends to do, and then if you have a power bank, then that's a lifesaver, because then it helps everybody be able to have their phones, especially if you're going to go out on the town or something, and then everybody needs, if you're in a foreign country, I'm a big fan of everybody having some form of communication or knowing what time it is if they don't have a watch or something. So
That's
very important. Power bank.
I thought of another one. I don't think I shared this on our packing episode. Maybe I did. I like to bring Theo chocolate.
Ooh.
Not for eating, but as a gift for like if I'm staying with someone.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really nice to bring a little host gift. I think I started doing that when I was in 7th grade and I went to Japan. And in Japan, they're super, super into gifts. And so we brought several gifts for like each person in the family. And then they gave me gifts for my family members back home even. I mean, there was just a lot of gift giving in hospitality kind of blended into one. And so, but it's really fun. Like, you're traveling to another country and you're going to go stay with someone and be like, hey, I brought you something from my home. And so for us in Seattle, like Theo chocolate, it's made right here and it's really good and has really fun flavors.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that people in other countries enjoy too. But it's fun to be like, this is from my hometown and it's small.
Yeah.
And it like, you can, I brought like 12 of them on my trip to Spain last year and just like lined my suitcase with them and would just bust them out of different people's homes and be like, hey, this is for you. And so
Nice.
that was a good one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, having a good gift to
Yeah.
bring, it just breaks down it's a good icebreaker, and it just makes people feel
Yeah.
welcome and like you care, and
And
it's
just showing
important,
some
super important.
thankfulness if somebody's
Yeah.
opening up their home. And I mean, usually it's more than home. They're
Their home,
maybe
yeah.
offering you transportation or being your tour guide or your cook or all sorts of things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a great point.
Absolutely.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move to the last segment of the episode called Wish You Were Here. During this segment, each of the three of us is going to highlight a travel attraction from the different places that we have been. You can kind of think of it like a little postcard snapshot of this one place or event or cool thing that you've done in your travels, and we're just going to share about those. So, Cheryl, what would you like to do for your Wish You Were Here?
All right. So this one has technically been shared, but this is like a subcategory of it. So we're going to say it counts.
We are going to say
Ryan-
it's count, or you're
Yeah,
going to
we
say it count?
are. So Ryan, you've shared about the Mopop before, and that's the museum of pop culture in
Yep,
Seattle.
downtown Seattle. Yep.
It's near the Space Needle and Seattle Center. They currently have an exhibit going through September, I believe, of 2020. So if you're listening to this before September of
Oh, September of
2020.
2020.
Yes.
Oh, so that's
So
almost a full
you have
year from now.
That's why I thought I should share right away, because I just
Yeah.
went to this and it's awesome. They have a Minecraft exhibit. And it's very good. So my little future stepson, he just turned 6 and he's obsessed with Minecraft. And so we wanted to take him on an outing, and I think it had like just opened that weekend. And so we surprised him with it. And it was really fun because the Mopop, it's a very weird looking building. And so we walked up to it and I was like, we're going to that building. And he was like, the weird shaped one? And I was like, yep, the weird shaped one. And you walk in the lobby, and right now they have the Ender Dragon like hanging from the ceiling in the lobby, which is very cool.
Wow.
But the exhibit itself, it kind of feels like you're in the game, which is fun. Like, even, I mean, they really go with the details where, like, even there's a light on the wall and it's one of the torches from the game.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
even like the seating, there's a couple places where there's like a screen and somebody's like talking about the development of Minecraft or different things like that. And the seating are the blocks. And so, I mean, right away, Jack was like pushing around the blocks because he just wanted to play Minecraft then. And they have different ones of like the animals in it, and you can climb on them. And so kids were like climbing on them and getting a photo with them. They have a creeper that like is a screen where all of a sudden it appears and then it blows up.
Whoa.
So that's really
interesting.
cute. And they have, it's very interactive, and it's just so well done. Like it Jack kept saying, he was like, I feel like I'm in the game. And so that was, it was so fun. And I just like, as an adult who like watches somebody else play it, I was like super into it. And so yeah, I would recommend it. It's really fun. And then so you do have to buy like the special exhibit ticket. So you have to buy the Mopop ticket and then the exhibit ticket.
Right.
I think there's a little bit of a discount if you get it online. But I mean, then you go to the Mopop and like there's a lot of fun stuff there anyway. And then it was this exhibit was really good. So I would definitely recommend it if you are into Minecraft or just video games in general. It was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great one. Trent, what would you like to do for your Wish You Were Here?
Well, the other incredible trip I was able to go on was to Machu Picchu in Peru.
Holy moly.
And of course, you would think that I would say Machu Picchu itself, and I do, because everyone should go see Machu Picchu. It one of those places that you actually feel like there's something more that's there, something meaningful, something impactful, and you just feel a connection to these people that were there hundreds of years ago that built this place, and you get to learn about the culture. But I would say that where I would recommend people go to if they get a chance to go to Peru is a little town called Huacachina, which is in the desert of Peru, and it's an oasis in the middle of tons of sand dunes all around you. And we spent only one day there. I wish we'd spent more, but we had the time of our lives learning how to sandboard, which is snowboarding in sand.
Cool.
And there's lots of things you can do in the town. There's restaurants and food, and there's dune buggies, and you can take those all over. We really felt like we wanted to sandboard. None of us had ever been snowboarding before or anything like that. And we found this guy who had some boards, and they were just like pieces of wood with just like cloth on them you could put your feet into. And we're like, oh, okay, we could do that. And so this guy came and talked to us, and he said, "My name's Tony Sandrider." And I said, "Is that your real name?" And he goes, "Yeah, here's my ID." And he showed me his ID, and his name was Tony Sandrider.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know, but he goes, "If you upgrade and you pay 12 soles per person, and you actually get these real snowboards, and we can take those up and use those in the sand, then I will teach you until you guys have to leave," and we told him, we said, "That's 6 hours from now." And he goes, "Yeah, sure, that sounds good. This is what I do every day. I love this."
Oh my goodness.
I just did a quick little Google search of this, and when you said it's an oasis, it's like out of a movie Oasis.
Yes.
In the middle of sand dunes that look like the Sahara Desert.
That's right.
There's this.
It looks like if someone was
my
playing
gosh.
Pictionary and drew an oasis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this little town that's right
Wow.
next to this oasis in the middle of the desert, and it's just completely beautiful, and you could spend I don't even know how much time there, and it feels like no time's passed at all.
That's super cool.
That's so cool. Let's go.
All right.
Take me with you. Take me with you.
Exactly. You get it.
Ryan, what's your wish you were here?
So my wish you were here is going to be in Moscow, Russia.
Wow.
And it is the KGB Museum.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it was a number of years ago that I was there. And I was doing some internet searching. I think it's still there, but it looks like maybe it's only open certain months out of the year. But it's incredibly interesting because when did I go? I went in 2003, maybe? So quite a while ago at this point. But it was a really interesting tour because they go through and they've got all of these things from basically the Cold War, all this spy paraphernalia and littles,
Wow.
the things that you see in the movies that actually were used,
Right.
apparently. And all these different things about how, this device had this little microfilm hidden in it and this little camera that was in this other thing that this guy wore and all these different things. And it was really, really interesting. It was also really interesting to me because the tour guide, of course, knew that we were from the United States. And so he made sure to point out all of the times where the KGB officers outsmarted the CIA. And so it was really, which, was kind of funny, whatever, ha ha ha. But I also really found it interesting to hear the perspective of the Cold War.
Right.
From the Russian perspective, not from our perspective. Because obviously we've
There's two
got
sides to every
one
story.
side of the story. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So it's interesting to be able to see all the different devices and things and hear the stories, but it's also really interesting as a cultural experience to hear things that, kind of grew up with and movies and things, but from a different perspective, and to be able to have a little bit, and I mean, obviously it was, one tour for I don't know, an hour or two. So it wasn't, the most amazing. And I now have this full understanding of the Russian perspective or anything like that. But it was very, very interesting to hear from a different perspective. So if you're in Moscow and you're looking for something cool to do for a little bit, the KGB tour is pretty interesting.
Are you telling me that you have been trained to be a spy for the KGB?
Well, I can't tell you that, Trent. So no, that's definitely not what I'm saying.
Well, you could tell me, but you just have to kill me afterwards, right? Is that how that works?
I mean, I wouldn't know because I'm
right.
not a KGB officer.
And if he told you, then that part would not make it to air,
No,
so our
it won't.
guests will never know. Well, Trent, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We loved having you and hearing your awesome
Yes,
stories.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love being here. This is fun.
Yay. Do you have anything that you would like to plug?
Yes, if anyone has the chance, please check out the Painted Palace in Redmond Town Center in Redmond. And if you are interested in any type of event or something to do with princesses or princes or magic or superheroes, if any of that sounds enticing to you or your kids or your loved ones, they would be happy to help you.
Nice.
That's fun. That's definitely fun.
Yeah.
All right. And I would like to plug our podcast.
Yay!
Yeah. So we would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at Timwy Podcast. That's TMWY for Take Me With You Podcast. And we are on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And we will take some of those cool pictures that we were talking about on the episode, but you couldn't see because this is audio only, and we will post them to our social media so you can see some of the cool things that Trent got to experience in New Zealand.
You can also email us at timweekpodcast@gmail.com. Something that we would love to receive an email about right now as you're listening to this.
Unless you're driving,
very,
of
very
course,
moment.
like we said.
Right now, yes.
Then
Be
pull
safe.
over.
Oh, good point. Yep, pull over and send it. It's a good point.
Ryan is currently planning a trip to Disneyland.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
And we are going to be doing a planning episode for that coming up in the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would love if you would send us suggestions about anything that he should know getting ready for his trip, any of your Disneyland travel tips. What's an example of something that you are looking for, Ryan?
Yeah, so I would love our listeners to share what they think it's worth splurging on. So spend the extra money to do whatever the thing or things are at Disneyland, and what is really not worth it, and just save your money. Don't spend it on this. So
Nice.
Money is a finite resource. So what are your splurges and your saves for Disneyland? I would love it if you would share that with us. You can share it with us on the email address that Cheryl just gave, or you can also, and no offense, Cheryl, but I think would be better is if you were to call us and leave us your save or splurge tip on our voicemail, because then we can play your tip on the actual podcast, which would be really cool to get your tips in the way that you want to share them. That would be really cool. You can do that by calling us at 406-763-8699, or if it's easier to remember, 406-POD-TIMWE. We would also really appreciate it if you would rate and review us to help other people be more likely to hear our podcast and get access to all of our cool guests' stories like Trent's. And we would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast. That way you won't miss any of the new episodes when they come out, and share about it on social media. You know someone who is thinking about going to New Zealand? Share this podcast episode with them, because Trent shared some really cool things that I definitely didn't know before.
Yeah. As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the use of her artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
Trent, thank you so much for coming on the podcast this week. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I will. It's so much fun to bring the world to all these listeners with you.
Absolutely.
Love
That's
it.
sweet. Yep. That is going to be it for this week's episode. So until next time, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you.
Take me with you.
We get a sailboat, chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe. Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above and light little love. All the world is out there waiting to explore, and all our troubles here want them to be